We should mention we can't underestimate Yu Yangyi at all. He's a phenomenal speed player. He's been up there in World Blitz Championships a few years back now. He's been up contending on the top 10 or so boards regularly. So he is a speed demon himself, but maybe a bit less versed in the online speed formats than Hans. D-pawn push, you mentioned it yesterday, Tanya. Knights belong behind pawns often. So a very healthy start to this game for Yu Yangyi. How do you think Hans is going to react to copycat chess?
Why not, right? I mean, why spend time when you can do it? There's no eventual break, right? There's no real way for white to break the symmetry just yet. So 96 does make a lot of sense to me. Hans, he's got to be a little quick on the clock. With the 5+2, that's another shift that's required by the players. He takes another decision, instead opens up the bishop. The next knight comes out. Wow, I thought that knight needed to be at the center of the board, David. Does this decision surprise you?
Yes, slightly. Knights on b6, at least Hikaru. I listen to Hikaru whenever he drops some wisdom. He always says knights are misplaced on the b6, g6 squares. As long as you can play b3 here with white and control everything. Wow, talking of knights on the center, he does not care, Hans Niemann. He always does things his own way. He goes knight to a6. He's trying to build for a break, kind of Queen's Gambit-esque, Tanya.
He's a rebel on the board and off the board. Is Hikaru Nakamura your favorite streamer, David Howell?
Yes. How about yours?
It's really entertaining to watch him. I think you get to see like high-level chess, just this genius of his mind, how he works everything out, every single thing out, and then is able to just crush everyone. It's a joy to watch him stream. I do also enjoy the Magnus streams when they do happen, but there's this other guy on the block. I don't know if you've heard about him. His name starts with D. He's been doing these couple of streams lately, the Title Tuesday run. He's also got this book called Grind Like a Grandmaster. It's very entertaining. You should check him out, David Howell.
He sounds like a patzer. He sounds like a fish. Anyway, okay. Thanks for the subtle plug there, Tanya. We see a first exchange of pawns leaving the board. Hans has got his plan. He's enacted it. But he's neglected his king development, like getting castled, getting his dark square bishop out. White is ready with some breaks of his own. It feels like Yu Yangyi is playing like a Grunfeld defense with colors reversed. He's not fighting for the pawn center. He's playing with pieces instead.
Life doesn't stop when you're getting an education. That's why Sophia offers self-paced, online, college-level course.
Idea of getting the knights to the center of the board. Once it lands on e4, everything makes sense. But that path chosen by Hans, I have to say, it was very sort of out of what was expected in the position. Now Yu Yangyi playing an unexpected move, pins that knight down to b6. David, the king side, the right side of the board for black, still very undefended. Is it time to get that bishop out? Instead, h5, alpha 0 by Hans Niemann.
Yeah, you said the word king side, and I wasn't even looking at that flank. I was thinking like maybe he moves the queen bishops. As soon as you said king side, I was like, wait, of course he's going to play h5. Like everyone and their cousin plays h5, h4 these days when they see a fianchetto like this, especially because white's knights have moved away from the white king. Very nice spot there, at least that's the important flank.
Very interesting, right? And like you said, the fianchetto, why? Because there's a hook that you've got so early on, right? The pawn on g3 is just inviting that h4 move in to activate the rook. And what makes it even more exciting is that white's castle there. So you can't run away with the king to the other flank anymore. You've sort of committed to that side, and might be the moment that we might see h4 appear once there is a recapture on d2. I'm just wondering if queen takes knight could potentially run into a knight c4.
Yeah, some calculation is needed. That's definitely what Yu Yangyi is looking at. Knight c4, there would be a queen trade, bishop takes queen, knight takes queen, and yeah, a lot of stuff is hanging there. So maybe he's forced to retreat, but that's not a good sign. Loss of time.
It's not a happy move, right? Because he put that bishop on a5, pinned the knight, and what has black done meanwhile? Managed to get the h4 break in, while you've just been shuffling the bishop to something where you really, and look at that. Another time the bishop lands on a5.
Yeah, Tanya, I'm not shocked he's kind of worse here, significantly worse Yu Yangyi, because if we think about his knight's journey, he put a knight on d2, he brought it to b3, he brought it back to d2, only to see it traded off. He brought his bishop out to a5, back to d2, back to a5. Like, I know I point these things out a lot, but when a player loses this many tempi, like black in the meantime, even without moving his rook, has activated his rook. on the H file. Black has activated the C rook. Now the queen is coming out. Watch out. Checkmate in the air. This looks beautiful for black.
I mean, I'm really glad that you pointed out all those tempes lost, because that's the reason that Hans Niemann on what move 13 is playing to checkmate White's king, you know. This is why it's important to not waste time in the opening. Queen h5 coming on next. Bishop from f8 will land itself on d6 as well. You've got the bishop pair long run, and that's really a long-term advantage to fight for, even if you don't deliver checkmate. But firstly, queen h5 is a big threat to deal with. You stop it with knight f4, queen h6. How do you stop it then?
He's going to have to move the white rook out of the way and just try to slide the white king across and hope and pray that nothing collapses in that section of the board. This is really, really scary. All black needs is another piece. If black had a knight, it might be checkmate. Oh, he's lining up, potentially removing this defender. The white bishop is holding everything together right now. But Tanya, spidey senses must be tingling for Hans Niemann.
This is very terrifying for white. I mean, the idea of d4 in the air, like you're pointing out, the queen and the rook, and you don't even have a way to challenge it. You know, you can't challenge the h line. You just have to find ways to not get checkmated. And with a minute and a half, well, a minute and 50 seconds on the clock, it's not an easy task. Hans putting the pressure on that 17th piece, the clock, as well as the board right now. Bishop c6 keeping all the threats in the position. Very tough for Yu Yangyi. Hans looking like a favorite in this game already.
Yeah, big favorite right now. Rook to e1, a very logical move. Now the white king has at least one escape square if needed. It's just a question of how Hans tries to press the advantage. If he kind of builds up, maybe he'll bring the dark square bishop out, which isn't doing too much right now. Maybe the black rook on this flank not doing full work. I wonder, Tanya, whether he's just going to slow play it. There we go. He does bring his bishop out. Is he just going to push a pawn, maybe move his king forward, try to stack up his rooks later on the h-file? Two rooks together might be enough to topple over white's defenses.
And that makes a lot of sense, right? Because you realize that there's no checkmate. You just keep those threats in the air of doubling up on the H line. And it's always something for white to worry out, to calculate every single move, not be able to create counterplay or get too many pieces onto that left flank, because you need to keep your king defended while you advance at the center of the board. Now, this looks like the first active move that Yu Yangyi has played all game. A4, trying to clamp down on the queen side and potentially push that pawn further to open up the rook line to try to get that rook active.
I like it. At least he's got some semblance of activity, maybe with one piece. Hans Niemann slowed down. He's just trying to find a plan. These top players, Tanya, they always spend longer when it's the planning phase. Their calculation skills are so quick because it's bam, 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 forcing moves. But planning can be hard. And okay, what do you make of this last one?
I am struggling to understand that, David. How rook h6. It is not the easiest move to answer what I make of it, but Yu Yangyi with b4, he continues his plan. What do you think Hans is thinking with this rook left? I thought that was a square for the queen to land on.
Yeah, same. I was very surprised. The computer not approving of the moves as much for either player right now, but that is less relevant than the clock situation, than the board state where black is in full control. I have a feeling at some point Hans is actually just going to retreat his bishop, and white's last move has only opened up the c-file. d4, watch out. There are some checkmating ideas. If this white bishop is ever traded off, Hans, he wants to trade this bishop, play his queen across to d5 and come in on the light squares.
You have to stop that, right? You have to block that with the move e4. I mean, that feels like you can't just grab this extra pawn and walk into these checkmating ideas that you're pointing out. You need to keep the defense. That bishop is the soul of white's defense around the king. So e4 played. Once again, rook h6 to me is such a mysterious move, David. Hans now pushes the e-pawn forward. It does block his own bishop on d6, so no more bishop into pawn sacrifices. Do you think he's setting up an f5 to try to get to that light squared bishop?
Very, very possible. f5. He'll need to time it right because of the black king. The only other explanation I can come up with, Tanya, you mentioned that mysterious move, rook h6, is that he will push his pawn to g6. Later, push his king forward and stack up the two rooks on the h-file, but that's so time-consuming. He drops back with his queen. Hans has lost a lot of momentum. I have a feeling he's in kind of control mode. He knows he's up on the clock. He just doesn't want to blunder anything, Hans. He doesn't need to go for it anymore. He's just going to sit on this position until Yu Yangyi is low on time.
While I agree with everything you said, it does feel like Yu Yangyi can start feeling just a little bit relieved, right? There's no checks that he needs to worry about. There's no big attack. The rook's managed to activate itself, and somehow the momentum of the game feels like it shifted just a little bit in Yu Yangyi's favor.
Yeah, this is the best position he's had since, I don't know, move 8, move 9, Yu Yangyi. The rook is going to come. I don't really see what Black's immediate plan is. The rook on h6 just looks discoordinated with the rest of the army. I could imagine like bishop f3, bishop g4 now, just to try and trade off. This is White's worst piece. Try and trade off. It's no longer really needed as a defender. Okay, a threat for the first time, Tanya.
The c2 pawn's hanging, but look at the clock, David. I think Yu Yangyi really needs to speed up. It's so much about the clock now. It's not about the checkmates. It's about getting those moves fast and quick. Bishop f1, he doesn't take the pawn immediately.
Interesting. The white queen moves. Watch out.
And
maybe some sacrifices.
Sorry, David, we will show that line later, but I think rook c1 was the problem with that move. We'll show that to everyone later. Queen f3 played, and 9 seconds for Yu Yangyi.
Okay, he's got to move. He's got to be fast. Queen takes c2 here just looks so scary. I think he's lining up a sacrifice here, Tanya. Rook takes f7. He would happily give up a rook for Black's beautiful light squared bishop. King back. What do you think? Is Yu Yangyi going to make it on time even?
I think that's the big question. I mean, you get 2 extra seconds on the clock, but you need to build that up. You can't just be playing on this time control. So he has to do a couple of pre-moves, get those extra seconds. Rook attacks b6. A lot of mistakes are about to happen in this game, David Howell. I think twists and turns lie ahead.
Guaranteed. And already the mistakes have been happening. Hans now is also low on time. White's pieces are suddenly pouring forward. This one, the eval bar says still slightly better for Black, but I'm not so sure. And the white queen is now going to start coming over, supporting her rook. The rook is in. The black king threatened. Hans has lost control.
He's lost control. He's got 10 seconds on the clock. What is that rook on h6 doing? What was that move by Hans Niemann? Now he falls back with the bishop attacking the pawn. And we see a little back and forth. Hans doesn't repeat. He's playing for the win in this position. 1 second for Yu Yangyi.
Oh. Okay, he's coming forward. The black king has a rook as the defender. Maybe, yeah, I was going to say practical, swap off those rooks. The eval bar doesn't like it because maybe now it's a fortress-esque type of position for white. But Yu Yangyi's going for it, Tanya. Pawn storm.
He is. This is no fortress anymore. With 2 seconds on the clock, he takes a big decision. That pawn doesn't stop just there, but this is playing with fire. It's anyone's game. The f-pawn, it does trade off. But David, the bishop pair. Will it be about the bishop pair in this one now?
Yeah, black has full control. The black bishop's going to come and sit in the heart of white's camp here. No, it retreats. Okay, odd move there from Hans Niemann. Yu Yangyi's going to try and just lock up the light squares, Tanya. But you've got to be thinking it's the bishops. This is a blunder. It looks like checkmate is coming suddenly. The white king is doomed.
Oh my gosh, so the queen gets trapped. King e took bishop g4. That's it. It's game over. You have to go knight g2. And anyway, he puts the bishop on g4 and the queen is trapped. And look at that. Hans Niemann reacts.
Wow, that was a crazy tactic, a crazy sequence, trapping the queen. We'll play it in slow motion in a moment, but Hans Niemann, he wanted it. He was able to lock in focus, and Yu Yangyi barely betrays any emotion yet again. But there we go, shake of the head. He knows he fought back so well. Tanya, he fought back to equality 3 moves before the end. Dead level position.